Hello, everybody. Jeff Mason with SimpleBiz360 podcast. That's SimpleBiz360.com. And before we start today, again, I want to shout out and just say to everyone out there across the world that, COVID-19, we're in the throngs of it right now. It's a horrible situation. Our hearts go out and our prayers go out to everybody across the world who's been affected by this in some way. And we just pray that, you don't, anybody who has not been stricken with this, we just pray protection over you and for you. And we just, we understand it's a very challenging time globally, and we want to be respectful of that and just want to let you know our heartfelt concern on that. My name's Jeff Mason, your host, and we are so excited today to have a guest from my alma mater. Her name is Jessica Chamberlain. Jess, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Hey, why don't you just give the audience a little 30-second blurb on who you are, where you're coming from, and so forth?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Jessica Chamberlain. I'm from Old Bridge, New Jersey. I'm a senior at Stockton University, which is in Galloway, New Jersey. In addition to being an intern on campus, which is how I met Jeff, I've been writing, editing, doing archival research pretty much my entire college career.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much. And we've got a really exciting show with Jessica teed up. And just again, we're coming to you from stlewispodcast.com. And we are, just bringing you an episode that's trying to give you a current flavor of how the pandemic is affecting and how it's interacting with seniors at college. Now, there's a lot of people that, aside from COVID-19, are being affected by this virus, and weddings being canceled. Your sister Nicole and millions and millions of other high school students are having proms just erased, having graduations postponed or erased, having to do virtual things, a lot of different things. Well, Jessica is part of a approximately 5 million person pool of folks that are graduating college this year, whether it's a graduate degree or undergrad. And that's a lot of kids, and that's a lot of people, and that's a lot of students, and that's a lot of parents, and that's a lot of occasions that are going to be disrupted. And so it's just another one of the tentacles of COVID-19 and what this pandemic is doing to folks. So we wanted to get, Jessica, I'm working with her. So to let you know, Stockton is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and Jessica was introduced to me by a professor who's heading up what they call the 50-year anniversary publication. And Jessica's part of a 6-person strike team, if I have that right, that is working on stories for the university. So we got connected through the book I just wrote. I shared that with my alma mater 4 or 5 months ago. And then they decided to kind of zoom in on a story. My wife and I met at college hitchhiking. I was hitchhiking, she wasn't. And that's how we met. And hitchhiking was a big part of the 70s and early 80s culture at Stockton. And so Jessica's capturing that. And so we started having discussions back and forth, and that's how we got to meet each other. And we had the fond pleasure of meeting your mother, Michelle, and your dad, Joe, and have not met Nicole, but, we had my wife and I met your mom and dad, and it was awesome. Thank you for setting that up. And my wife got to meet Jessica. And so, we've bonded a little bit, and Jessica said, hey, wouldn't it be great to capture on a podcast the flavor of things at the college scene? I said, I love it. Let's do it. So here we are. So without any further tee up or setup, we're just going to dive into this. So Jess, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the degree you're pursuing right now as undergrad?
Yeah. So I originally went in pursuing criminal justice and realized that I did not like it. I switched over to literature halfway through my sophomore year, and I've been pursuing it ever since. It's a concentration in literary studies, so historical literature, and I'm going forward, hopefully, with my master's degree at Stockton for American Studies.
Very good. Very good. So what was, obviously you're coming to us from Old Bridge, New Jersey right now, which is where your parents live. Tell us a little bit about how you were situated campus-wise before COVID-19. What was your living arrangements? Where were you located?
Yeah, so I lived on main campus in Galloway, New Jersey for 3 years, but this last year, my senior year, I moved to the new Atlantic City campus, which
Okay.
was beachfront. It's beautiful. And basically, there's a shuttle that can take you back and forth to main campus about 20 minutes, and we would just go back and forth to class, meetings, everything like that, using the shuttle service. And on-campus housing events happen all the time. Very involved in the community, and now I'm at home.
Okay, very good. So how has life changed since that living arrangement? You were living in a what floor did you live on in this apartment complex?
I lived on the second floor.
Okay.
I had 5 roommates, 1 girl and 4 guys that I lived with. I don't even think you know that actually. And it's a lot better of an experience when you have people around you, and that
Sure.
has been the one thing that has changed. The support from other people that can relate to you, always being around you 24/7, is pretty much non-existent for the most part when you're at home. So that has changed a lot with the virtual learning.
Now, thank you. So before you went into the virtual learning, where were your classes being held? Was it a mixture of Atlantic City and Galloway?
Yeah, I had some classes in the Atlantic City building, which was right across the street from where I lived, so I could just walk across the
Nice.
street. And on campus, when you live on the main campus, you could also walk to class there or take the shuttle. There's both of those options, but in the Atlantic City one, it's so close that there would be no point in having a shuttle. You could just walk right across the street. I had some online courses, but those were ones by choice and were designed for online curriculum. But for the most part, I was in a classroom on the main campus or the Atlantic City campus.
Wow. Okay. So I just want to kind of paint a picture for people who are listening and who are viewing. So Atlantic City is basically kind of, if you're ever gone down the Garden State Parkway, which is a north-south artery in New Jersey, your exit 44, your exit 40 to get to Atlantic City, right around there. Pomona, the Stockton University is on exit 44. So it's the southern half of New Jersey on the shore. And Galloway Township is where Stockton University actually is. And that's about 10, 12 miles due west of the eastern shore that you're on in Atlantic City, where Jessica is living. And that's a brand new campus that was just developed 2 years ago. And Stockton has climbed the ranks from one of the 9, 10 state schools, if I'm not mistaken, to a university status, along with Rutgers University, I believe. I believe Monmouth has that same status at this
Yes.
point as well. Academically, it's a very challenging environment to get into right now. Doing very well, and that's kind of just a geographic situation for everybody. So you kind of have that picture painted. So, what? Give us. I guess give us your take on what is campus life. What was it like after COVID-19 hit? You had that waylay period before they asked you to remove yourself. What was that like?
Very weird. I had lived on campus since I was a freshman. I have a lot of friends that are RAs, and no one knew what was happening, which was a little unnerving. No one really
Sure.
knew what was going to happen. No one still kind of really knows what's going to happen. But we were kind of in limbo a little bit because it was the week before spring break. Our last day of classes was March 13th, Friday the 13th, and we were told that we were going to do online learning until April 5th, and we were allowed to live on campus if we chose to, but they encouraged us to go home. I wanted to stay with my roommates since it was my last time living on college campus, but then eventually they had said, you're not coming back at all. We need you to move out. But that limbo period was weird because the professors were trying to make the transition just in case to online learning. So all of our syllabuses were changing, and a lot of things that we had known as our routine were gone. So that limbo week was like, everyone was like, is this really happening or is it not yet?
Wow.
We were kind of still trying to figure out how real it was. And I don't think it really sunk in until now.
So a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, obviously things are moving fast. It's very fluid everywhere. The world
Yeah.
is fluid and the fluidity had no shortcomings there either. It was large and in charge. So, so then all of a sudden they tell you at some point, about 3 weeks ago, that, okay, everybody needs to vacate the dorms and spread out. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
And you
That's exactly.
And now, are you able to take your personal effects out of the dorms, or do you have to leave it in the dorms, or how?
So we were given a schedule, a bunch of days where you can choose a time, and it's a 3-hour period where they want you to come back and get your stuff in and out. You can bring people with you to help you move out, but they're doing that to try and stagger the time slots where people will be showing up, so that we're all not showing up in large groups. But now, actually, interesting update. Yesterday, I had moved out my stuff this past Sunday, April 5th, and I just got an email saying that if you haven't moved out yet, that now you don't have until May. They need you to come next week. So there's a lot of people that are rushing, and if not, they're going to preserve your items in boxes and keep them there for you to come get at a later date. But I don't know how I would particularly feel about that, but I definitely felt like I needed to get out of there quickly. They were making sure that we all were ready to go on the move.
So, again, just, a lot of changes, a lot of things, a lot of curveballs, a lot of secondary curveballs you've got to deal with because, the educators and administrators are trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
And meanwhile, what is the mood like with you, the students? How are you guys processing this?
I feel like right now being a senior is a really hard place to be. And one reason that I've really been thinking about is that we feel almost guilty about feeling upset because and I say we, I'm speaking for some of the classmates that I've spoken to, just a general sense I've gotten from people I've interacted with.
Yeah.
Just, people are sick. People are passing away. There's horrible things happening. And we're like, oh no, we don't have a graduation.
Yeah.
When you put it next to things like that, it feels very like, you got to count your blessings.
Right.
But at the same time, we still should be able to grieve our loss in a way, which is a lot of time that we've lost.
Right.
And I just feel like our mood, I'm in senior seminar right now, which is a huge course. It basically rounds up everything that you've learned in the past 4 years, and you present projects and you present to the whole department.
Right.
So I would be presenting to the literature department, and we're all trying to work on that together. And my professor actually assigned us into groups, even though she's not grading the group work. She just wants us to be forced to interact with each other, which I think is great. And I've been interacting with my group, which is another 3 students and myself, and that's really helped us chug along.
Yeah.
And what everyone's been saying their mood is they just want to keep going, because if they slow down, then they're worried they're going to lose momentum. And I'm definitely feeling a little bit of that too.
Okay. Oh, very super cool perspective that you shared with us. And I really think that's important for us to digest a minute, that, you do have there's a wrestling match inside your hearts and your minds and your souls that are saying, you know what? This is a weird set of conditions, but, we're not sick. We're not dying. It's not, there's other people that are going through other things, which I think is a very, very mature way of looking at it, but also a very selfless way of looking at it, which it's really cool hearing that. And, obviously it's hard for me to put myself in that position. I, was there so many years ago, and, I just can only imagine, but never having gone through a pandemic, none of us have. It's just, it's all new territory, just so much of it. So let me ask this, has this situation developed or have leaders on campus kind of sprouted up through this? And what I mean by that are people that you didn't know had it in them popping up and being a voice for the inner student body saying, hey guys, we got this. Let's get this under control. Let's do this. Let's keep moving forward. Is there anybody like that?
I have seen, I myself have been making attempts to make sure that I'm keeping in touch with everybody so that I maintain some sense of normalcy, because if I've been trying to go about it as, what would I be doing if I was on campus right now? Who would I be talking to try and maintain some sort of routine overall? But it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say how everyone's been handling it as a whole.
Yep.
And this kind of goes back to what we were just saying. Everyone is handling this so differently, and a lot of the leaders on campus have been stepping forward for their groups. Meaning, there's events that were supposed to be happening like groups that meet up every Thursday at 4 p.m. for a Black Lives Matter group, or even just there's an alliance, there's like alcohol alliance there, where you all test liquors and you go around and you go to breweries, and even those people have been keeping in touch through Zoom. And so I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of making sure those connections stay.
Yeah.
And making sure that those people still meet up every
Yeah.
day and when they should have been on a normal day. And that has been really good to maintain some form of routine for everybody.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of people in my classes that are not normally the most talkative interacting a lot more in emails and on chat, on Zoom, how we have a little chat bar.
Yeah.
Everyone's been kind of talking to each other during lessons. Just the normal camaraderie that you would have in class that you can't really get over video chat and virtual learning. But there have been a lot of leaders stepping up, I think, in coursework more so than
Gotcha. Okay.
on campus.
Support group wise, are new support groups popping up because of this too?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of emails from campus saying, if you want to talk about COVID-19 at 4 p.m. on Thursday, we're going to have a Zoom where anyone who's a student can hop on and just say what they need to say. Even Student Senate has been sending us a lot to try and get our opinions into things. And they've even sent out surveys. How do you think Stockton has been handling COVID-19? X, Y, and Z. Answer these questions for us to better educate ourselves on how you are feeling as students. And I think that's really great that they've been doing that as well.
Are you seeing any students that are really getting depressed, and if so, are other students coming to the side of that person and helping them along? I mean, have you seen anything like that? Or I know you're separated now and sprinkled around, so it's hard. But I mean, are you sensing any of that?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have been getting in contact with each other individually after class, after the Zoom ends and the professor gets off of the screen, or right before. I have always seen people saying like, hey, if you guys want to stay on and talk for like another 30 minutes and work on this together, we could definitely. I don't know if it's really been, I know everyone has different feelings about it, and there's days where I've been really upset and I feel like I've lost a lot. But then there's days where I'm looking at what I'm gaining from it as a leader going into my career in grad school. There is a lot to gain, and I feel the seniors are zoned in on that more than the upsets, just because we already are so determined and so close to this next step that we're just ready to power through.
Great. It's awesome to hear. So, you made a comment a little while ago about moving forward, just keep advancing. There's so much good messaging in that. I mean, just, you think about so many things as a race, as a delayed gratification process, that to keep pushing, to keep just moving forward is one of the key ways. That's an awesome perspective too. And so in line with that, how are you, Jessica Chamberlain, handling every day moving forward? Are you doing anything different than you did before? Is there any change up in your routine?
Definitely a change up in the routine. When you're going to class and you're waking up at a certain time, you're on a schedule. You have to eat lunch at a certain time. You are going to class at a certain time. You're doing your homework at a certain time. You're studying at a certain time. Everything is kind of on a time constraint. And it feels very weird to be doing my work at home. It's a different mindset completely. I've been trying to wake up around the same time that I would at school, but it's a lot easier to say, okay, I'm going to press snooze and roll over because I don't have to be at class. And that does cause a little bit of confusion for me in my own head because I'm not used to doing that.
Sure.
But my routine overall, the biggest thing is I would interact with people on campus every day. And I was saying to one of my best friends earlier, Alex, I was telling her, the weirdest thing is that I haven't seen a stranger. There's something about having people that you don't know around you all the time that is different. I haven't seen anyone other than my mother, my father, my sister, and my boyfriend in a long time.
Wow.
And strangers, something about having large amounts of people around you that are all going through the same thing at the same time as a student it really helps you move forward. And I think that is the only thing in my routine that I'm definitely missing, is that just day-to-day interaction while I get my coffee, running into a classmate or an old professor. Things like that have really changed in my routine, since obviously I can't see those people. But other than that, I've been trying to maintain it just by whenever I get stressed about something, instead of overloading myself with work, I've been going to cook or
Yeah.
bake cookies or do something
Yeah.
that's not workout, something
Yeah.
that's not zoning in, because I've been feeling like, and a lot of my classmates have been expressing the same concerns, that there's this underlying notion that since we're all in quarantine, that we don't have anything better to do other than homework, which I would assume some people are thinking, and it's definitely more work.
Yeah.
In this sense, it definitely is. So our routine has kind of doubled in the amount of stress and work, but
Wow.
other than that,
Wow.
pretty much stayed similar.
Well, I mean, interesting perspective on, I never thought about that. Just, I worked in New York City for 11 years. So once you get out of the subway or once you get off a train, you're in and amongst all these strangers. You don't know any one of these people, but there's a collectivism. There's a spirit of, we're all got a common goal today. We're all going to work. We're all doing something, but you're all amassed at a red light, on a train, at a train station, wherever. So I hear you. That would be weird to be all of a sudden stripped and be so separatist. And, that's something that we're, quite frankly, all dealing with, and to some degree or another, but, not a lot of us might have gone to a company setting where there were only 5 people, and you're going to a collegiate setting where there's 555 people. So yeah, I mean but that's a great perspective. So I said something to you at the beginning as we were getting all the electronics squared away here, and you agreed that I really think your graduating class, not just you at Stockton University, but the 5 million students that are part of this, even different than the juniors. You're a unique class. You will never have that taken away from you. You're now wearing a badge as a unique graduating class. So what does that mean for you and other students going forward from here, in your opinion?
I just think the best comparison I can make, or analogy I should say, is when Hurricane Sandy happened. That was something that, for the most part, was the Jersey Shore and some of the East Coast,
right? And
not the entire world could relate to you. People in Italy wouldn't know about Hurricane Sandy. Every single person in the world is involved in this situation right now. And we are going to be the only people for a long time that have had to go through this, I hope, for a long time, as college seniors. We might be the only people for a really, really long time. And I feel like that just shows what else could we not conquer? Like, what could we not get through if we've gotten through this? And pushing forward through this is not only a show of character as a person, but dedication in general to anything, because it's very easy right now to throw in the towel and say, you know what, I'm at home, no one can see me, I don't have to show myself, I don't have to go to class, I can just ignore everything and say, you know what, my Wi-Fi's broken, I can't do anything. You could do that, or you could take advantage of the things that you can learn from this and the advantages that you can take for your future from this. And I'm hoping that the rest of my graduating class, all the 5 million other people in my pool, really feel the same way, that there's more to be gained than lost.
A great, very healthy respect for that point of view. I really do have a healthy respect for that. It's great. And, you're looking at setting aside the casualties of life in this, and there are, but you're looking at this as a glass half full instead of half empty. Correct?
Yes. And I feel like if you don't, and I'm going to be completely transparent, I have not always been the most positive person in my life. But this situation, I think, has taught me that if you don't maintain any positivity, what else do you really have? This has completely stripped everything, any sense of normalcy, immediately. I've appreciated the little things so much more now than I ever have before. And I think that only makes myself and the other students in my class a more valuable candidate for any company and any job or anything they want to pursue, just because of all the stuff that we've been through and how we've reacted to it as a group.
I commend you for that. Again, for that perspective you're putting to this. It's just very comforting as a person who's in, I don't know I call it, the afternoon shadows of my life. But it's 61 years old. What else are yeah? There's a lot less to go forward than there was behind. So, any rate, but I really find that comforting, and I like it. Has this made you a stronger person?
Absolutely. I've realized a lot of things during this, but the main thing that I've taken out of this is that no one is going to have your back like your family. And that is something that I've definitely taken out of this, or your friends, or whoever you live with, your people close to you. Those are the people that truly matter and support you through this. And that is the main thing that can get you through this, is just realizing around you all the people. Like, for example, my boyfriend's brother was exposed to somebody who they think might have COVID-19, the coronavirus, and we've been bringing him groceries, keeping him in the house, leaving stuff and running away from the porch to make sure that we don't get in contact with him. And just he was telling me the other day on the phone, he said, Jess, without you guys, without my family,
Yeah.
who knows? Without people that are there to support you, how do you get through this? And my heart does go out to people who don't have that support system. But I think that everyone's realizing the support they do have now, because everyone's coming out of the woodwork for each other and making sure that everyone has each other's backs right now. Because as a whole, as a country especially, we all need to do the same exact thing. And that's the first time that's ever happened, is that everyone needs to do the same exact thing.
Yes, you're 100% correct. I've lived through some, hurricanes out there, and it's very regional. We have a lot of tornadoes out here in the Midwest. It's very, very regional. It just cuts a swath. Not everybody's affected, but you're right. Everyone is so affected by this. And you've touched on something that I think is a byproduct of what we're engaged in right now. And that's, I have been praying for, and I think that it's an opportunity for families to re-engage. You see some of the funny posts out there that, husband will say, wow, that person on the couch, they tell me that's my wife. Wow, she's really nice. I mean, you see some funny stuff like this where it's really just saying, wow, we've been forced to knit together as a family. And my wife and I see it with other families around us. There's a family, I'm going to take a picture when I get home. There's a family across the street that colored a huge heart on their driveway today, and all 6 of them, 2 parents, 4 kids. It just is gorgeous. And, they're doing things together as a family. They're coming together. They're realizing their family is their nucleus for support, just like you said, and you've got that, and people are rediscovering that. So there's a silver lining in that too, which I think is kind of neat. So, and I assure all the college students listening to this, which I hope they do. I told you, Jessica, I never get political. I never will. But I do want to ask a kind of a charged question, if I could. We've probably never, arguably, we've probably never seen our country so divided before this COVID-19 virus. It just is. It's just one of those things. Does this situation knit people together to consider that, or to get closer as people, regardless of political affiliation? Do you think? Do you see it in the student body?
Yes, I've definitely been seeing that because of the emails we've been getting about group meetings and student senate, talking to everyone and including everyone. And I think that a lot of people don't want to get involved in stuff like that on campus because they're worried about it becoming political. And I think everyone's realizing to put the politics aside and focus on the community, which is something that I've seen a lot of. The community-based dialogue has been spread throughout all of those emails, and hopefully everyone is abiding by that. And I think everybody truly is. I've seen a lot of people coming together that normally would not. Like, for example, they were having something where all groups meet up on Zoom, people who were going to go to a hip hop culture meeting and people that were going to go to their church choir meeting on campus are all on Zoom together talking about COVID-19. Because no matter what is happening in your life and no matter where you want to go, what you want to do, everyone has this in common.
Right.
And when else in the history of
Correct.
time has everyone had one thing in common, and that's this. No matter where you are, everyone is going through it. And I think that's better because so many people can relate, and I've seen so many, for example, a lot of the professors are saying, you know, you do have deadlines for your coursework, but if you're 24 hours late, everyone has a lot of stuff going on. Who knows who you have sick at home? Who knows who you're taking care of? Who knows? Are you an essential worker? Are you healthcare? Are you working at the grocery store? There's so many things, and everyone is really realizing that. And I think that'll carry over once this is all over into the classroom, because I don't think that was there as much, realizing that everyone is going through their own stuff at home. Because when you're all in the classroom, you all look the same. You're all a student. You're all in the same seat. But when you're all at home and you're thinking about what everyone's going through individually, it's a completely different perspective from just all being the same, you know, robot in a classroom type of scenario.
So to your point, which I love, you are the first class in every college across the world who's got, you know, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. But the seniors, it's the first time you've ever all had something, a common thread that ran through everyone. And that is in itself an oddity, right? I mean, are you guys talking about that amongst yourselves as though, you know, this is going to knit together the most unique graduating class ever?
Yes, definitely. And for the 50th anniversary project, our internship funding recently has gotten cut due to everything that's been going on, but we are still going to be doing the work for it. And we have been working to uncover all these stories about alumni like you and all these fun, interesting things that tie the community together and are unique to Stockton. And this is one of the most unique situations that's happened to everyone. So this has kind of taken over as how do we all feel at this moment? And we're all going to contribute pieces towards the internship about our personal experiences with COVID-19. And it's amazing. The professors are really interested in what we have to say. And that is a good feeling because they want to know and they want to help. And I have not seen, at least I get to speak for the literature department because that's where I mainly interact with my professors, but everyone has been extremely accommodating and has been understanding. And that's the only thing that we need right now is for people to understand. And that has been one of the things that I've noticed coming out of this, that everyone has become far more understanding and aware of each other during this time, which I think is something that we didn't really have before.
Do you have hope that moves forward? Does that continue in 2021?
Yes, I think it definitely will. And here's why. Because just like how all the jobs, you know, think about all the things that are going to be able to be done remotely now. People are going to realize, oh my gosh, that person can do their job from home. Oh my gosh, this could happen when, you know, this person's sick, they can still do this. And there's so many new avenues that people are going to take from this. Just Zoom in general. I mean, everyone's been using Zoom. Everyone's been using it as a platform. Whereas a month ago, did my mom and dad know what Zoom was?
Right.
No, they had no idea.
Right.
And so not only is there new technology and new ways to learn coming from this, but I think there's new ways of living that are going to be coming from this, just in general. I feel like people are going to be way more confident in being more socially active, talking to people more, making those connections in person, because you can make them. People have been being forced to make them now, but once they realize how easy it is and how quickly you can jive with people, people will be making sure to make those connections in person, as professors will be making sure to keep tabs on their students, making sure that the mental health is in line along with their schoolwork. And you don't know what's going on in somebody's home and in somebody's life. And this has shown all of that and put it all on display for everyone. So I think it would be crazy if this didn't continue forward and this mindset wasn't really going on further.
Good. Well, I'm loving this interview, by the way. I'm so charged up that we get to get this perspective. And, you know, this was your idea. And when you asked me, and I thought, you know, wow, I tried. And one of the things we always try to do at my entity here, SimpleBiz360, is to step in the customer's shoes. I tried to rewind the clock the best I could to 1978 through 83 when I went. And I do remember this. The mind of a college student is constantly churning, constantly wheeling, constantly thinking about things. I could think, I'm sure I thought I saved the world 2 times or 3 times during my college career, and then forgot how I did it. But, you're so energized with thought. Your thought processes are just triggering that I wanted to get your perspective on this. What's happening inside right now? And you're just one voice of 5 million, but I think I'm really getting a really cool feeling that you're inspiring. Your feedback is inspiring to us folks who are older, as we're seeing a chance for unification, a little more unification, some unique leadership coming out of this, and a little bit more I guess, is it fair to say prepared for the curveballs of life? Are you? I mean, there's a lot of...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was thinking about this podcast since I had brought it up to you. And one of the things I was thinking about is you can sit on the camera and you can cry and talk about all the things that you've lost and that others have lost, and talk about how I'm upset because graduation is getting postponed and no more time with my roommates. And I mean, plethora of other things that have been happening.
Sure.
Have been not so pleasant.
Sure.
Or I can sit on here and tell everyone that there's another side to it, because reality will come back.
Yes. And
once it does, we can't all be sitting around upset. We should do it. We let out your emotions, do everything you need to do now, so that once this is all over, you can be the better version of yourself that you're trying to be from this experience.
Jess, and I did get permission to call you Jess, by the way, everybody. If you're, what's he doing calling her Jess? But, I do just think that the curveballs that come, the things that we can't see in the future, the things that we can't expect, they come fast and furious in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. And I think this, in a way, is the worst curveball of all, and it's preparing a lot of us for those little things that are just brushback pitches. If you ever played baseball or softball, you just get up and brush yourself off, and it's not as bad as COVID-19. I think as you start stacking up the life curveballs that you'll face down the road, and I hope this happens, is that everybody who goes through this says, you know what, that's not as bad as COVID-19. You know what, we'll get through this. I can do it. And that's inspirational in itself, because people can get bogged down with the little curveballs and think, oh my gosh, the world's, roof's falling, caves, it's tumbling in around me, when it's really not. It's just a setback. And I think, that's an encouraging thing. So a couple more questions. Does Jessica Chamberlain come out of this more self-prepared?
Yes. Definitely. The online learning has definitely done that, because it's all your responsibility. When you're on campus, it's your responsibility to get on the shuttle and go to class or walk to class. You can sleep in, mm-hmm. but this is all on you. There's no one really lecturing you. There's no one teaching you. They are still teaching you online, obviously, but it's not the same, especially for visual learners like myself, as having someone in front of you going, this is A, this is B, and this is how you get to C. It's very different not having that aspect in my learning, and I feel like that has made me more reliant on myself and my time management, and I think that time management is a huge thing that's going to improve from this, especially college students. I know I'm speaking for everyone, we all procrastinate. I mean, if something's due at 11:59, you're probably still doing it at 11:45 p.m. and crossing your fingers that you get it in on time. I know a lot of myself and my friends have been doing that forever, and it's just something we naturally do. But this is kind of forcing you to say, hey, why don't you get it done now, so you don't have to worry about it later, because there's a lot of other things to worry about, which I think is going to really help people and has helped me get things done in a more timely manner. Okay, so Tuesday I'm going to make sure I dedicate it to this, and Wednesday to this, and it's helped me maintain a little bit of a different routine, but it's a routine, which I feel like is a necessity at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's well said, and it just part of the college experience is learning how to meet schedules and deadlines and plan and put things together. And as the landscape changes in the work world, which it is, the remote worker is going to become huge out of this. Trust me, it's gonna balloon. And those workers have to maintain and exercise better disciplines than, because they don't have that discipline of getting in a car, going to an office, being there by 8:30, and going through that motion of the day until 5. They've now got to do it at home where no one's looking, no one's watching. So there's a lot to come out of that preparation process in college right now, which I think it cannot be undervalued. What's the major takeaway for your class out of this whole COVID-19 situation? One takeaway, if you had to put it in, summarize it.
Appreciating the little things, the day-to-day things that you would not pay attention to, like waving to someone on the way to get coffee or parking your car on campus. Like, I would give anything to park my car on campus right now, and I used to hate it because I would drive around for an hour looking for a spot. And now I would give anything to go back there and drive around looking for a parking spot.
How interesting.
So just things like that would be everyday aggravations have now become things that we wish were happening. And I think that's a reality check for all of us.
Wow, cool. Well, that's interesting. So, hey, is there a nickname for the graduating class of, are you C19ers? Is there something that
I've heard going around a lot, actually, on the Old Bridge parents page from my sister in high school. People have been saying putting a hashtag seniors stuck inside has been a big one that's been around. But other than that, I've heard the C19ers said a lot. But other than that, I don't think there's any nickname for us yet. I'm sure they'll get creative, though.
Oh, my gosh. You're going to have one. I don't know what it's going to be, but yeah, someone's going to come up with it and boom, it's going to stick eventually. But So looking at all this and what's happened and how it's been handled, and I don't mean to, again, it could be a charged question, so I don't mean to put you in a pickle, but how should, in your opinion, from the student's vantage point, how should colleges change from this? What should universities do to change in the future? What should they get out of this, in other words?
I think, so there's always been online course offerings, but they were minimal, at least at Stockton. There weren't that many. I know a couple of my friends who at other universities have expressed the same concerns about that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like making more online options now would be better because we're learning more about how to use online learning as a tool. And I think now that we're becoming more educated, we're forced to become more educated on using it. People feel more comfortable taking those courses, which will definitely help a lot of people who, are going to school and have kids, who need to have full-time jobs. And there should be some more online learning options now that we're more familiar with the technology that we're using for it.
Right.
I think that'll set the platform up for that. And now we know as students, we can handle this. We did all of our classes online. We could take this one online and it might save us a whole shift of work one day a week. That could definitely change.
Are you, like, for instance, your parents, aside from the trouble my wife and I had trying to do a Zoom call with your parents the other night, are your parents getting more acclimated to technology because of this?
Yes, definitely. My dad has a job that he has been flying back and forth to Florida working for an insurance company. Obviously, that is not happening right now. There's no flying, so he's been working from home, and he's had to hire people, lay people off, talk to people, have meetings, serious meetings, do a lot of work over a video chat.
Sure.
And that has definitely been different for him. He's been in the business world for a long time. And he himself has never dealt with anything remotely like this. So it's interesting to see how him as a leader has been dealing with it. My mom she does Weight Watchers, and I have been doing it with her for a little while, and they still have their meetings on Zoom. Yeah. They usually meet up once a week in person, and they've been meeting on Zoom. My grandma also does Weight Watchers and has been using Zoom. It's been challenging for her, but we've gotten her acclimated to it. And that's something my grandma would never have tried to go on Zoom and talk to us. And now the other night they were on there. It took a little while, but we had them on there and they got to see our faces. And so I think a lot of things, especially for older generations who aren't as inclined to be using technology as often, will definitely try and make the switch.
Well, I think we're feeling that, I think, worldwide. We even talked about it here with the marketing team the other day about, how we're going to start doing a couple things differently going forward, but focus on that fact that technology is part of the mix anymore. And for those that resisted it prior to COVID-19, the embracing of it now is going to, should be top of mind for a lot of people, because it's connecting us right now. It's making us, more together, if you will. But very good. So what are your plans as Jessica Chamberlain post-graduation? And by the way, how is Stockton going to do graduation this year?
Well, they let us know that we were going to have some type of virtual. I'm not sure what it's going to actually be. I don't know if it'll be the president talking to us, or maybe they'll even have the speaker that was supposed to be at graduation Zoom in with us. The commencement speaker, I actually, one of the interns that I work closely with, his name is Brendan, and he's in line to be picked for the commencement speaker. And he was saying to me, which is an interesting perspective as well, he was telling me that if they have graduation, they said we're going to have a traditional ceremony come the fall, October, September maybe. And he was saying, I'll be in grad school in another state at that point, and I might not even be able to be the commencement speaker because I'll have almost moved on at that point. And that is definitely challenging because you don't really know where anyone's going to be at that time. And whereas we all knew we were going to be right at Stockton on May 15th when we were supposed to graduate. But we are going to have something at some point. I'm not sure when or what it will look like. But I'm glad that they're going to do a little virtual thing on May 15th. It'll be nice that everyone can sit down with whoever they're quarantined with and watch whatever they're going to have for us on there, which it won't be the same, but they are doing that with a lot of my senior projects. It has that as well. We're going to Zoom in with the department, and I'm going to share my screen with them and show them all the work I've done as I was supposed to in person with pizza, but I guess the pizza will have to be in our houses cooked by us. But other than that, there's been a lot of options for us, although graduation still, it won't be the same. It definitely won't be the same. That original idea of it has kind of been shot down a little bit, but I think that it's good that they're trying to do something, showing us that, hey, we still want you to be recognized, even regardless of all the pandemonium going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure that will all come together, and I'm sure they'll do just like most universities and colleges out there. I'm sure everybody's going to make a really concerted effort to make it feel special, because it is a special time, and you guys have been, you've had to deal with that, and remarkably well, I might add, which I loved how you explained, early on, how you guys are looking at this and saying, we kind of feel guilty about feeling, upset, So at any rate, so anything Jessica Chamberlain wants to say? Oh, by the way, skipping back to the last question, part number one, what are your plans for the future?
So I am going to hopefully be pursuing a master's degree at Stockton come fall of 2020 for American Studies, hopefully on track to become a professor or work in higher ed. I would love to work in student affairs, admissions, just anything higher ed based. I originally wanted to be a high school English teacher, but somehow, some way, I just felt a pull to Stockton, and I feel like my internship work got cut short, and I want to keep going, and I want to keep doing what I felt like I was meant to do, and that is definitely staying on track with Stockton.
Wow. Well, that's tremendous. Well, I wish you all the best with that. And, I've shared with your dad, and I've shared this with you, and I really mean this. That, I feel like in my bones, 35 years of business experience behind me now, that I can spot genuineness and authenticity, and I can also spot a bunch of BS real quick too. And I'll tell you what, you have impressed me since minute one. I will tell you that, and I mean that. So future colleges and universities, if you're looking for some professors, and that's the road you want to take, right. Don't forget, I'm connected with her on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll always be able to find Jessica. But I really do mean that. I think you're, to me, you exude a lot of leadership qualities just in our discussions. You're very articulate. It's been a pleasure getting to know you through this process. And I just, I'm so glad that we're able to put this on tape and put this out there. And I think you've done a remarkable job in speaking for, the collectiveness of the student body. And I hope your students agree with that too, because I think you did a remarkable job today. And you're not nervous, which I find like blow me away. That future this, put her on in front of the class. She can do it. She's, so anyway, no, I really do mean that. So, we're obviously still in the throngs of this, terrible situation. So we want to make sure we don't undermine the importance of still praying and still, pouring our hearts out to people and being responsible to, what our officials are asking us to do. And, it's a tough time. So my heart goes out to you guys as college students across the landscape, the 5 million or whatever. There's 7 million people now on unemployment, and those are only the people that are reporting or filing. Who knows how many other furloughs and people haven't reported. There's just a lot of messiness going on with this. And so we realize we're coming at our audience at a weird time, but we hope this is shed some light on things from the collegiate point of view. And I do want to just kind of end by saying, to the students at Stockton, loved the college experience there. I love my alma mater. It's been a pleasure for me to engage with you guys. You're going to see down in the lower right-hand corner as you're looking at this screen on YouTube, you're going to see a little pinwheel. And if you just hover your cursor over that or put your finger, that's going to allow you to subscribe to our podcast. And we're going to be doing this for a long time. And I promise you that we'll never get political. We'll always be truthful and try our very best to put a good show forth. A lot of our shows are 10 to 12, 14 minutes. We have one that aired today called Carnegieisms about Dale Carnegie. Anyway, I just invite you guys to join with us and subscribe. We'd love to have you as followers. And I really think there's going to be some good meat and potatoes for you to take in and ingest as we go down the road. Now, one of the things I want to mention to the audience is that we're going to be taking on the 14th of May, we're going to start to take a little departure. We're going to lay down a second set of railroad tracks next to the railroad tracks of SimpleBiz360. And this is going to be Remote Biz 360. And we're going to start to collectively talk about simple business ideas and remote workplace situations where we eventually, those train tracks meet and they melt together into one train track eventually. But we're going to be talking about remote working under the Simple Biz 360 umbrella. And we're going to do that for a long time because there's a lot of challenges that come with remoting. I've been doing it for 13 years. A lot of people have, and we'll draw on a lot of expertise and try to help you situate yourself better for that. And I would say this to the college students, and for everybody in your senior class, for the young students coming up through the ranks of freshmen, sophomore, junior, and those coming into school next year, think about this. The remote workplace is going to be thriving. Many of you will get jobs out of college and work remote. The things you do during your college experience, the dues you pay, the 4 years or more of delayed gratification every single day, planning, executing, it makes a difference. And I'm going to tell you just a quick story, if I may. I was a recruiter for 2.5 years, hired 65 college kids into entry-level jobs out of college. And I got to go to a bunch of schools. And I used to go to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, which is home of Wharton Business School, and it's an Ivy League school. And I was at the train station waiting to take a train back to New York. And one of the young men I had interviewed was in the train station, and he saw me and he said, "Hey, you want to catch a beer?" I said, "Sure." So we sat down together and I said, okay, you're going to an Ivy League school. In your opinion, what's the difference between you going to an Ivy League school and me going to it was Stockton State College? And I'll never forget this poised interview. This gentleman told me, he said, "Mr. Mason, I feel like there's just two differences." And he said, "These are the differences. I get exposed to different cultures. My roommates are from Louisiana, San Francisco, Dhaka, Bangladesh, India. Your roommates are from Passaic County, Monmouth County, Bergen County. It's different." And he said, "But, number two, we're a more competitive environment here," meaning, we've got, I forget the number, but 750 people clamoring to try to get 70 spots in Wharton Business School. It's very competitive, and, you might not have that competitiveness baked into your state college regime, and now it's Stockton University. Here's the punchline. He said to me, but I would give anything to be in a class where I'm not with 749 other people watching a TA on a video monitor, to be able to go into a classroom when there's 35, 40 students, to be able to make an appointment with the professor after hours, during their office hours, to be able to have that one-on-one. I mean, you guys, that's the silver lining in your education compared to mine. I'll never forget that, Jessica. And I want to say to all of you students at Stockton and other universities and colleges around the country who have those small classroom settings, have that accessibility to the professor base, man, cherish that. You don't get that everywhere. You really don't. And I thought that was a powerful, just a powerful angle on college.
I agree.
Really cool. So, any rate, I thought I would share that. So, as you go through your career there and your educational experience, you just think about that sometimes. It's a really cool thing. Jessica, we do a little thing at the end of every podcast. We call it Lost in the Shuffle. I'm a rock and roll guy. I went to Stockton from 78 to 83. A lot of rock and rolling going on in Stockton between those years. And you've probably heard, and some of the stories I've shared. I don't know if my 21st birthday party picture is going to make the cut. Is that going to make it?
I think it might.
So just to forewarn everybody, my 21st birthday was celebrated on the top of a house. So Jessica's got the picture to prove it. So anyway, yeah, we went at it pretty hot and heavy back then. So I asked one of my roommates to give me their selection for the Lost in the Shuffle track, and all the students listening, basically what it is, it's a great rock and roll song that just never made the rotation. We never heard on the radio back then. It just never, just wasn't one of the big songs, but it's a cool song. So there was a band in 1977 that came out with a self-entitled album called George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers, hailed out of Newark, Delaware. And it's not Newark, Delaware, it's Newark, Delaware. That's how you say it. And any rate, they grew up at the I believe it was called the Deer Park Tavern, is where they kind of cut their teeth. Cool little bar tavern outside of outside of Newark, Delaware there. And any rate, they came out with a song that I Ride On Josephine, that I thought my roommate picked it out, and it's about a car. It's about the love affair of just fast cars. Back then, it was written by a gentleman who goes by the name of Bo Diddley, and Bo Diddley wrote this song, and George Thorogood and the Destroyers put it on tape. And so, anybody who wants to listen to it, we always show the Lost in the Shuffle track, Ride On Josephine. You're going to see it up in the right-hand corner. It's a little track. You just put your cursor on it, you click on it, and you can listen to the track online. So that's going to be our fun track for the day. A little connectivity to Stockton. My roommate and best man in my wedding was from Newark, Delaware, went to Stockton, unfortunately passed away at 59. And, again, it just goes to show you that nothing lasts forever, guys. So just cherish the time you have with your families. Cherish the fact that you're back with that you're in with your loved ones and they're supporting you, and try to get through this COVID-19. Our prayers go out to you. We really do. And one last thing, Jess, and I really mean this, and I hope everyone hears this loud and clear. We're red, white, and blue America. We're woven together with the red, white, and blue. And I, personally, at 61 years old, am really sick and tired of the divisiveness in this country. I really want to see this country unify and not become one or the other, but become the red, white, and blue woven together. And I really do. I hope, and I'm encouraged by talking to you, and I hope that the outcome of this allows us as a country to become more unified. I really do. That's my prayer. That's my hope. And, I think you guys will go down as the most unique graduating class ever. And I think the leadership that can come out of this is going to be amazing. I'm waiting to see it. I can't wait to see it. I hope you guys enjoy going down the leadership role in the years to come in your lives, and take us some good places. Take us some good places, America. That's my message. And so, at any rate, Jess, it's been a wonderful pleasure. I thank you so much for writing the story on my wife and I. Can't wait to see it. Thank you, Stockton, for choosing it as a story to kind of, put out there. We're very blessed by that. And guys, I'm just going to say, be safe. We're praying for you. Stay safe, follow the rules, and let this thing get by us. Let's go back to work. Let's go back and do life a little more together than we did before. So, Jessica, you're destined for greatness. I really mean that. And
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well,
thank you for having me on here. It was great.
Thank you so much. Tell your mom and dad I said goodbye. You want to say anything to anybody as we sign off here?
Yes, my boyfriend, Evan. Thank you for getting me through this quarantine.
There you go. Great way to go. Well, hopefully one day I'll get a chance to meet Evan as well. But, well, listen, we thank everybody. Hey, everybody out there, remember to hold on to your sanity, your profitability, keep the shiny side up, which means be safe when you're driving. And remember, let's try to make everybody happy, customers and everybody. Let's try to appeal to the Dale Carnegie nobler motives, right, that we talked about today. So thanks so much, Jessica. Take care. Thank you, Stockton University.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a great one.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.